Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to this meeting in Lancaster County Council. I'd like to call this meeting in Lancaster County Council to order. I ask that the clerk note for the record that a quorum of council is present, that the public notice of the meeting, including the meeting agenda, has been posted the required length of time in the lobby of the County Administration Building and on the county website, and that the news media was notified of the meeting time and place. I welcome you to your county council meeting. I would ask that you take a moment to turn off any or place on vibrate any cell phones or pagers. Thank you for not wearing any hats or caps in the county council chambers. Please be considerate of others in the room by refraining from conversations during the meeting. I ask that we stand, if you please stand and join council for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation given this evening by Council Member Bryant Neal.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Our gracious Heavenly Father, God, we just want to thank you for this day, God. Just thank you for the many blessings you've given us. Just thank you for giving us the opportunity to serve the people of Lancaster County, God. Just thank you for the staff for what they do for us, God. But more than anything, thank you for the citizens of Lancaster County that comes to these meetings, God. Just lead, guide, and direct us during this meeting that we'll make the best decisions for Lancaster County. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
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 Okay, now we're come to citizens' comments. Please bear in mind that this is not a period of dialogue with council or a question and answer period. This is your opportunity to address council with your concerns. I ask that you address your remarks to council as a body and not to any individual council member. Please speak into the microphones, state your name and address for the record, and you will have up to 3 minutes to address council. Your time will not start until you have provided your name and address.
Mr. Chairman, did we do item number 4? Did we approve the agenda?
Oh, sorry about that. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Have a motion, second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Okay, now we're ready for citizens' comment. Ms. Jean McCoy.
Thank you. My name is Jean McCoy, 9213 Whistling Straits Drive in Indian Land, 29707. I understand that the Crosswinds development application has not yet been presented to the Lancaster County Council. However, and especially after attending the Planning Commission meeting where the Coulter Group presented their application for the development, I wish to go on record with the County Council requesting that you deny the application if and when presented. It should be noted that the Planning Commission rejected the application. Thank you for the opportunity to express my concern. Thank you.
Okay, Tony McCammon.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have a great opportunity before.
Give us your name and address, ma'am.
Oh, so sorry. Tony McCammon, 2112 Hartwell Lane, Indian Land, South Carolina, 29707.
Thank you.
You have a great opportunity before you to guide our county in this next, I want to say at least 5-10 years going in the right direction. And you have a huge financial burden on you to figure out how to do that with our roads and everything else. And I appreciate that you have tried to do the best that you can up to this point. those of us that live up in Indian Land, we have some concerns about the development and the growth not being, and not being represented well for safety in our part of the county. So if any of you have any concerns about, why we're stating this, then you might want to talk to Councilman Luis. He lives up there with us. He knows what it's like to call EMS and not get two paramedics, or get one paramedic, but two EMTs. So we're just asking that you really pay attention to what the planning and zoning had to say and why they turned down the application for Coulter. And thank you very much for your time and your service to the county.
Thank you. Mr. Bruce Cohen.
My name's Bruce Cohen from Walnut Creek, and pretty much a lot of what Tony was talking about, thankfully, it was a thumbs down on the Crestwinds. Hopefully you guys are voting that way. I believe that's just a suggestion. I'm not sure of how that works. I believe that you have to actually vote down on that. Now that that happened, fortunately, as a favor, Sandy McGarry actually brought in a DOT rep to talk to us. And what he said was, there's no plan on 521. They do not have a plan. And I'm thinking that before any more building, before we even think of other things to be done, that we need a plan, especially up in Indian Land. And like I always say, everything that's built down here is going north. Everything that's built north of here is going north. Everything is a suburb of Charlotte, or will become a suburb of Charlotte. And we need a plan, and DOT's telling us they don't have one. And before any more building, we'd like maybe to commission a group to put together a plan. That would be great. And that's what we're asking for, and we're asking for you to protect us from that. I believe that's part of what Tony was saying also, that we're looking at you guys to protect us. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to our special presentations. First, we have a recognition of EMS for winning 2 awards, 1 for Petty Ready certification and 2 staff awards for patient care. Mr. Cato.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and Chairman. Tonight, I come before you with 2 awesome presentations, and one is going to feed off the other. The first is, a couple years ago, I came to you with a grant, and we wanted to purchase some equipment to begin what we called PD Ready. And what this is a certification the state of South Carolina gives hospitals and ambulance services for advanced life support for pediatric patients. Currently, we were the 10th EMS service in South Carolina to gain this certification, and there are 212 licensed EMS services in South Carolina, and that's ambulance services, rescue squads, and fire departments. So tonight, I present to you, and if I can bring our training department and compliance department up here, because obviously these are the ladies, along with some other ones that are not here, that helped make this happen. There are 37 criteria in this book that we must check, and we were able to check every one of them. This includes working with our local hospital, teaching outreach programs, and having every employee, up to 80% of our employees, have an additional 4 hours of pediatric training. DPS comes down. We have 21 licensed ambulances after the 4 we got the other day, and they randomly select 2 ambulances out of those 21, and they go through the inspection checklist, and we performed by scoring a 100 on both of those ambulances. And so tonight I present to you this certificate that was awarded to Lancaster County EMS on January the 23rd of 2025 for advanced pediatric life support in Lancaster County. And our ambulances will now have these stickers on them, so you'll be able to see this, and we can proudly display this. That was just the cake. Now we're gonna have some icing. So, y'all know I've stood up here plenty of times, and I tell y'all that what we do makes a difference in people's lives every day, whether it's holding someone's hand, resuscitating a cardiac arrest, or pulling someone out of a potential burning car, burning house. And every time we come and we talked about how bad our call volume is, we talk about we have to call other counties to come help us. Well, a couple of weeks ago, we got called by Kershaw County, said they needed help. And so we were able to go, and because we went, we have a new person. And I want to bring up Michelle Harris and Josh Paris. So our 911 dispatch received a call from Kershaw County that said they had a lady that was in labor, and she needed help, and Kershaw County couldn't get there. So these gentlemen and lady were stationed in Kershaw. Yep. They were in Kershaw that night, so they rose to the occasion. And when they arrived on the scene, they saw firefighters that were petrified from Kershaw County. And when I mean petrified, I understand they were petrified. And they had this lady who was in preterm labor. And from that, I'm going to let our lead paramedic here tell you exactly how that call went. And then we're going to introduce you to the result of the call.
Okay. So after me and Josh arrived on scene, we saw, of course, the firemen just scattered everywhere, just going back and forth. Mom laying there in extreme pain because, baby was coming. So I told Josh, I was like, we need to get her into the truck immediately. So we did. And I think about 5 minutes going down the road, I told Josh, I said, you better get ready to catch. And that was my exact words, because I had Mom's arm this way trying to start an IV, and Josh is like, oh, he's crowning, he's coming. So very thankful to have a strong EMT with me that night, because he did all the work. Well, besides mom. But afterwards, Josh did amazing that night, and I'm really appreciative for everything that he's done. And to Mom, congratulations. I think she said a few words to me and Josh, but afterwards she was very nice, very humble, very appreciative of what we have done for her and George. But I'm very thankful for you guys too, just for giving us the opportunity and the equipment that we needed to respond to this call. Because if it wasn't for that, I don't know if the outcome would have been the same. But we really do appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely.
So what she failed to tell you is during the birth, the cord was actually wrapped around the baby's neck. So we had to remove the cord from around the baby's neck since that. So I have 2 certificates for them. But after I emailed Mr. Marstall this information and told him we wanted to recognize 2 employees, I kind of got to fudge a little bit now. So Michelle, if you could come back up. And Hannah. So just last week, it seems like everybody wants to save on delivery charges. So we've had 2 more since then. And I think we're going to have to start paying her a delivery fee charge, because she got 1 the first time, and the second time, these 2 got twins.
Oh, God.
One of them was 3 pounds and one of them was 4 pounds, and they are now at the PICU in Richland Now, there's a few other people that were there that night, and I have certificates for them because we had yet a third one. But this lady was not there that day, so we're going to recognize them in-house. But I thought you'd like to know that's 4 babies we've done now in about a month. So that's kind of a record. This is not something we do a lot. I think I've done one in about 35 years. So I'm hoping that stays one at 35. So thank you, guys.
Thank you all. It's so easy to take for granted that people are just going to show up and know what they're doing, but it is very rewarding and satisfying when people do show up and know what they're doing. So congratulations, and thank you to our EMS and to all our public safety people that take the hours and hours and hours of training and put it to good use. Our next presentation is going to be a detention center update from Mr. Chad Catledge. Tell us some good stuff, Chad.
I can. That's kind of a hard act to follow. However, the closest I can get is my last meeting with Dennis. I was sharing with him some obstacles, and he said, I don't want to hear the labor pains, just show me the baby. That's as close as I can get to that. Okay, let me get some glasses here. Since our last update back in late October, we've signed contract amendment number 3 with our construction manager, Ajax, to bring our GMP for construction to completion right at $75 million. As you know, you participated in our groundbreaking ceremony on December 5th, and subcontractor buyout continues with Ajax and our construction management team, and then the submittal process is underway now to begin purchasing materials and all the other supplies that go along with that construction. I'll go through some photographs here. So you remember the detention center groundbreaking that you participated in. This was just a week or 2 ago. The site, we've started grading activities on site. We've completed our perimeter fence. Site clearing and grubbing is completed. We've started installing most of our erosion control BMPs, and what you see here is we're working on our sediment pond now. And we'll use that soil that we excavate to help balance the site. This is down in the southern part of the site here. So what you see now is a lot of grading activities that go on. Currently, from a financial standpoint, we have a total budget still of $90 million. Construction cost to date, just over $2 million. Soft cost, which includes land purchase, right at 3.7. So project cost to date at the time of this report was just under $6 million. And we're almost 3% complete with construction to date. Next steps from a scheduling standpoint, you see we're in that construction period. We have about a 2-year period. We're a couple of months into that. Weather's not been really cooperative, but we'll try to make that up and still looking at around an October 26 occupancy and having it. These are just some plans if we needed them. Are there any questions? Kind of a short and sweet update, but we're excited to get this underway.
Any questions for Mr. Catledge?
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Ms. McGriff.
Chad, any unforeseen challenges at this point?
We've had some fun. We did have a little bit of groundwater we encountered, but we were able to take care of that with a small under drain system. Nothing
To affect the budget at all?
No, didn't affect the budget at all. Our detention pond, we excavated it down, and we needed to go down about 3 or 4 more feet, but we hit some partially weathered rock. So a better solution than kind of chip through that rock was to raise the dam on our sediment pond, not the pond that's out there, on the sediment pond. So we have plenty of soil on site. So we're going to raise that elevation about 6 feet to capture the additional stormwater volume that we need rather than dig through the rock. So we've gotten around that. Through permitting, DOT, that's a whole story. We've had back and forth with them. We're going to do a little bit of road widening in the front of the detention center site. And we found some ways to minimize that cost I think Jeff Cato was able, through Transportation Committee, to find us about half of what we need, and we'll be able to incorporate the other half in our budget.
Now, the front will face number 9.
The front will face Highway 9.
Highway 9.
You won't really see it from Highway 9, but it will, yes.
Okay.
But no, we're doing well. Outside of the detention center building itself, off-site upgrades, we have a water line extension that we're doing, and we plan to have a pre-construction meeting with that this Thursday afternoon, and you'll see that start here within the next month or so. So things are clicking along. We're happy.
So, Mr. Chairman, I had one other question, just on the budget comparison. So where do we stand project to date with where we expected to be on the budget?
Exactly where we expected to be.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we'll move on to item 7C, our consent agenda. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve consent agenda item 7A.
We have a motion by Mr.
Second.
A second by Ms. McGriff. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, raise your right hand. It's unanimous. We're going to move on to item 8A, second reading of ordinance 2025-1949, an ordinance to amend ordinance number 2024-1910 relating to the appropriation of funds and the approval of a detailed budget for Lancaster County for the fiscal year July the 1st, 2024, and ending June the 30th, 2025, our fiscal year 25-26, or 24-25, to further provide for revenues and expenditures during the fiscal year and to provide for matters thereto. Go ahead.
Good evening, council, staff. Jamie Provoznak, Budget Director, Lancaster County. Tonight's agenda item is your second reading of an ordinance to amend our budget ordinance 2024-1910. So there are 5 items for you to take in. Excuse me. Item number 1 is related to the detention center, and this is in regards to the storage of the personal property for our inmates while he or she are detained. We have some health risks associated with the current storage of the inmates' belongings, and the request is to appropriate $25,000 from inmate commissary. That's a restricted revenue source for a one-time purchase of a proper packaging system and clothing vacuum sealer, which will help improve hygiene and the organization of the personal belongings. The second item for you to digest is related to juvenile housing detention. This is related to DJJ. We know that the number of juvenile arrests and the judicial commitments vary. They're unpredictable. We also know that the local funding has remained static over several years, but the actual cost for juvenile detention housing is increasing. And so there's a request for a one-time unassigned general fund balance appropriation of $110,000 for housing the juveniles. And that is ultimately to prevent a budget shortfall later in the fiscal year. The third item for you to digest is related to EMS and the purchase of ambulances. There are, as you know, cost overruns associated with the purchase of ambulance units for EMS. The request is a one-time appropriation of $21,500 in the EMS impact fee, which you've discussed in the past, and that's to purchase the unit and equipment associated with ambulances. Solid waste collections, this is in relation to the disposal of tire waste. We've had a stockpile of tire waste, probably about 4 years. It's exceeded the DHEC permitted limit for our facility. And so what is this? This creates a safety and environmental risk problem. The county staff hauled this tire waste to a third-party vendor. And so you'll see up here on the screen some pictures of that activity. So in order to prevent a budget shortfall in this particular line item and to continue the disposal work for the remainder of the fiscal year, staff is requesting a one-time budget appropriation of a little over $209,000 from unassigned general fund balance. You guys got more pictures to take in. And then the last item for you to mull through is related to Parks and Recreation and the Bailey's Ridge Trail. So the current trail is eroded. It isn't safe for residents to use. There may or may not be pictures of the trail, not tonight, but we can get that to you. So in order to restore the trail, staff is requesting a one-time unassigned general fund balance appropriation of about $200,000 to repair the damage due to erosion and to reopen the trail for public use. You have your public hearings scheduled for third reading on Monday, March 10th. The advertisement appeared in Lancaster News Saturday, February 22nd edition. Staff is recommending you to approve the amendment to the budget ordinance 2024-1910 and to adopt the amended ordinance accordingly.
Any questions?
Are there any new items that were added to the request?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It was the solid waste collections piece for the, so from last time,
Yeah.
you have new is the solid waste collections, so disposing of those tires, Jeffrey Cato's item, and then you have Christopher Cloudon's item of the Bailey's Ridge Trail. That's new from first reading.
It's Bales Ridge.
Bales Ridge Trail.
Yep. So, and those costs were over 200,000?
Yes, sir.
Is that
So on the second, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just confirming that because I think part of my confusion when I was looking at this, reviewing the agenda, it has that we kind of approved the first reading of this, but we approved the other items and not the items that were then subsequently added. And from my perspective, like, I'd like to hear more about some of those additional items that have been subsequently added that haven't been really highlighted as additions. So I just want to hear more about those.
And before we do that, do you want to make a motion on this? And then I'm going to have Mr. Cato come up and speak some more.
Second. Have a motion from Mr. Harper and a second from Mr. Mosteller.
We can have Mr. Cato come up and speak to the first one about the tires. And then Ms. Snowden, if you want to speak a little bit to the second one.
While Mr. Cato's coming, DHEC is really strict on these tire deal. Well, I mean, we don't have a choice but to do this. And I'm hoping something that maybe in the future with the county, or county council, maybe do an ordinance or something for tipping fees or something for these tires or something. So.
Thank you. Good evening. Here to answer any questions you may have about that. It is a rather long process at how that has happened. You go back to before we were a permitted facility, most of our problems were all not located to the facility, they were on the roadways. So we permitted Public Works facility to be a DHEC registered tire facility, which means licensed waste haulers and stockpiles can be stockpiled there as they're transferred to a third party vendor that takes the tires. There's only one in the area, that's up around Concord. And we went round and round with this, and then a few years back, we lost inmate labor. You know, like that kind of work was what we would use the inmate labor for, very productive, usually kept the tires down. Then when COVID hit, like everything else, it got behind. And coming out of COVID, same thing with supply and demand. We couldn't get the trailers, as many as we needed to get the stockpile down. So the cheapest way to do this was to haul these with staff. And that's what we did between the months of October and December and got that pile down. We are inspected monthly by DHEC, so it was building up, you know, all through COVID. We would get a passing inspection. But the caveat was we need to get those tires off the ground. And finally, in around the summer when it was really, really bad, the inspector just basically gave us a good verbal warning, said we could, become under violation. So that's when we felt like the choice of the matter, the easiest way to do. We did get some pricing on outside people to come in and load them for us. We priced renting a grinder to grind them. And really, the cheapest way to do it was to load our trucks and take them to Concord, which is what we did. And again, the tires keep coming in. Typically, the budget fund for this is around 75 to 100,000, and we've went over it last year. You know, it keeps going up like everything else. And we're just at a point this year where we really, we knew that this removal of this stockpile was really going to affect the disposal contract line item.
So is this, so I think I heard you already do this work? It's already been done?
It's been done, yes. The site is, now, we still have tires coming in, and we'll have them,
Okay.
you know, to July 1st when we go into a new budget. But this covers the big cost was removing that stockpile there.
And is that what the 200,000 is for?
Yes,
or
that
the-
is strictly from the invoices from those tires only.
Okay.
Regular loads that we were able to get in trailers or normal pickup was, you know, still the same in the budget. This was the cost of moving that pile.
So what happens if we don't approve this item?
Then that line item will go over budget.
Okay.
But to make that point, I think, so we still have a little bit of money in the line item for the rest of the year, but this has used the bulk of the money up. So we're coming to you saying we've used it and we're going to have more coming in for the rest of the year.
Okay.
And that's why, and to be clear, when we have this budget amendment, that's the reason why this was put on there. Instead of starting another budget amendment again to just add this, and if we want to do it differently, that's fine. But I just want to make sure we get this in there in time so you all have some input on this.
I'm not saying, I'm just saying this work was already completed. All this information has already been happening, I would imagine, for months. So I'm just not sure why this wasn't in the request the last time around. So it just feels kind of like a surprise to me. I don't know if anybody else felt that way, but
Well, the surprise in it would be the cost of what it took to move all the tires.
yeah.
Is it the
And
cost?
Sir?
Or is it the cost of them, like, dumping it wherever that third party is? Because
Yeah, the only thing in the
it's the
amendment
fee for them,
is fees for the waste tires. The labor and everything else, that's
you covered it.
So this is cover the one-time cost that you needed to get rid of all those
Backlog.
backlog.
Yes, it was, you know, it was come now, get it taken care of, or we would be, you know, didn't want to wait till the end of the budget year and really it'd probably be more then. We feel like we have enough to take it now. We do get some Department of Revenue funds from a grant that has increased this past year, but it not nearly enough to cover this one stockpile. So we figure if we get this stockpile down, we're manageable, and then we can look into the future as what to do, because like everything else with infrastructure, solid waste is a big part. And with the growth in the county, that's what we're seeing a lot of increases in. And this particular line item is tied to also our disposal contract. So it's tied in lump sum with the disposal contract of getting rid of the trash that we take to the transfer station and provide for our county facilities.
Where do all the tires come from, Jeff? Can you just sort of elaborate?
The majority of
Albert.
these, you have, these majority came from licensed waste haulers. We did a larger stockpile a few years back on Plowler Road, but we were able to recoup that cost.
That was a lot.
Yes.
And that's what'll happen if you don't accept them. They'll end up on a dirt road somewhere on the shoulders of the road or somewhere. They'll throw them out.
Yes, sir. That's the biggest fear of that. If you don't accept them, and you're basically, you have to accept them from haulers that provide the paperwork, have paid the taxes on the waste tires. We do for residents. We take 4 at a time. But these mostly come from waste tire haulers, which are permitted to dump at our facility.
Any additional comments?
No, I had dropped some electronics, had to drop a TV off the other week, and it sure looks a lot different now than it did. I think this has been an ongoing problem for several years. It's just something we have to deal with, whether we like it or not.
But I guess I'm not understanding, it's from contractors though, right? It's not from the general citizens of the county. Is that a fair statement?
Some are. We bring the ones from the facility that we take from citizens, but, you know, the bulk of them, citizens don't bring that many unless they're clearing off a property. And again, we have a process for that where if they're not under violation, you know, we call that a stockpile and we accept those. But the majority of these do come from the waste tire haulers, which if you prove that you've paid the tax on the tires, a facility is pretty much obligated to take them. That's the whole role in DHEC's role in this is facilities where folks can take these, and then you don't worry about the, you know, dumping on the side of the road or illegal stockpiles elsewhere in the county.
Can you maybe elaborate on that a little bit? So if someone goes to a tire store and gets new tires, those tires are taken, the old ones, by that business, and they have a couple options, right? And one of them is to bring them to our place.
Yes, a licensed hauler can bring tires to a licensed facility. And that's what a lot of them do here. Again, a lot of two. Some are dismantlers. Some are, you know, from the trucking industry. We take tires from the school district, from the DOT. I mean, that's what we are as a tire facility.
You said they pay a tax. As part of that come back to the county, or is
Yes,
that
part of that comes back to the county. At the end of the budget year, we get a share of the DOR funds that comes to the county. And through our grant writing process, we're allotted a certain amount. But it generally never offsets the budget for just removing the tires. And we've seen a large gap in that. But we did get more grant funding this year. We will be reimbursed that at the end of the fiscal year.
Okay.
Through the grant.
So we're still in the red. If we, to a conversation that we had during one of our retreats, if we had additional grant writing, would that supplement so that we're not in the red? Or is it capped out that we just won't?
Well, these we handle. I mean, there's not really any additional.
This is a standard grant.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this has nothing to do
So
with.
it's a
grant
separate.
writing. This is so standard.
It's kind of like revenue sharing, I guess, where we just have to say
What it is, what the amount
we
is.
take it and
So, okay, so there's not a separate fee or separate grants or anything that we could get? Well, I'm just asking if there are,
Could be,
that's what I'm,
you know, but I don't know whether we'll know if it drops, if a grant drops. But right now, the standard form is so simple that, you know, it doesn't take up a whole lot of.
it just seems we should probably have a conversation with the delegation, just if the taxes that we're collecting aren't sufficing to meet the needs of what we're expending, maybe we need to take another look at that.
And there actually is some legislation proposed, I think last week in this current session, about adjusting the tipping fee
Okay.
and different things. So it is
Under
someone's
consideration.
radar, and we'll see where it goes with the state assembly.
In years past, y'all have had multiple places that you could take the tires to, didn't you? And you're basically dropped down to one now.
Yeah, there have been multiple, but we've typically used like the state contract. It's been U.S. Tire since I've been here. Because number one, it's the closest. Two, it's basically the cheapest. We did look into other facilities. There's one in the lower part of the state, but it just, cost-wise, it just wasn't.
And Mr.
In the transportation to get them out of here.
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Marstall, if we could for the next meeting, are there any other budget line items in our current budget that aren't being used up that we could use to balance with this overage instead of just increasing the amount? Because by this point, I think we should have a pretty good understanding.
All right, is there any other questions or comments?
For the Bales Ridge Trail?
Yeah, I've
Ms.
got some
Snowden can
questions
give a little
there.
overview. Oh, wait, we do have Public Works involved in that as well.
Good evening, Chairman and members of council. As you know, the Bales Ridge Nature Trail is a 3-acre park that is along the Sugar Creek River. The recent surges in weather, as well as as well as just, I'm going to really say, some neglect, have substantially impacted multiple culvert crossings, the natural trail topography, and have contributed to significant stream degradation throughout the park. There are some sites that are exhibiting sinkholes, erosion, head cutting, blocked pipes, and joint separation. And so these are at some risk to the public. I know that Mr. Cato, along with the Park and Recreation Director and Project Manager Tim Green, has been working on this because it's become really untenable and unsafe for joggers and hikers, and I believe that there has actually even been, you've actually kind of barricaded some areas. And so in this month, on the 15th, we received a report from our on-call engineers about what it would take to actually start addressing some of this. I have not gone out and walked all of it, so that's why I've kind of have Mr. Cato up here as well, because I know that Parks and Rec staff had requested his team to go out and help, but quite frankly, the job is a lot more complicated than just repairing pipes. It really is going to take some study. So I didn't know if you wanted to add anything else, Mr. Cato.
Sure. Yeah, when we reached out, a lot of us worked on it there, assisting Parks and Rec. Look at this problem there, and it starts with the one spot you can see that's kind of making the trail unusable there. But as you look into the trail system itself, there are a lot of problems. And, you know, we've used the project manager, we've talked to the stormwater department up there. Everything from just washed out trails, which is public safety, you know, for the people going to use the trail, you want them to stay safe. But there are also other issues, because typically trails are, you know, they're designed in common space or things like that. They're not designed like a road would be for drainage, this, that, and the other. So as time goes on, you have problems. And, you know, one thing that is usually tried to done is Public Works or Parks and Rec can handle it in-house. We go patch the trail. This situation at the time, it was agreed on just to bring in one of the on-calls and put together like a master plan that could really fix the problem. Otherwise, if we could go up there and put another pipe in that bad section, patch it back, and it'd be fine for a few years, but this was a way for them to overall look at the entire trail. Okay. So that's kind of where we kind of helped them out a little bit.
I do want to make clear, if I'm right, Ms. Snowden, the dollar amount was identified from the contractor, but we don't know final till bid, right?
Yes, sir.
So it's a preliminary cost estimate just based on.
Right, so we want to bring this up now because we want to start the process and go out to bids and things and make sure you know what's available or what the situation is.
So is the 200,000 for the bids and to do the studies, or is it to do the work?
The on-call engineer gave that estimate as a preliminary figure.
Total project cost, or
Yes.
just for doing the
Total project
studies?
cost, but we don't know at this point.
Okay.
Have we spent money on that trail before? I mean, is this have we done this before on that trail? I mean, I just don't want to, if we spent $100,000 on it a couple of years ago and now we're doing 200.
I think we've been piecemealing it. I think that.
So this is like over the years, this is where we've ended up.
Yes, and what precipitated this is that we actually had a resident want to use it for a run, and so we thought that we could handle it in-house to fix it, to make it safe. And after our team started walking and looking at it, we realized that it was not safe enough for folks to be running and that sort of thing.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
do you think it would be appropriate to hold off on this until we have some actual estimated cost? 200,000 might not be enough, or?
I agree.
Well, we're at the point, so do you want us to come back to you when bids are in? So we just want to make sure you give the heads up that we have this.
I personally would like some assurance that this is something that's not going to keep coming up, frankly. You know, is this going to be an ongoing issue that every couple of years we're going to have to spend money on, or is this something that they can do something that can be engineered so that it's not going to need such amounts to fix it.
I'd rather have all the studies, all the reports, like really get the information that we need in order to do this right, as opposed to try to get something in, piecemealing it and trying to patch it. I get what we're trying to do, but it's a lot of money to try to patch it. And then, to Mr. Graham's point, if we have to come back a year later and say, hey, that didn't work, we're going to start over again. I'd rather have one set of mobilization, one time, do it all.
I mean, certainly that part of the county needs access to trails. I mean, there's not a lot of county access for that stuff up there, but I just want to make sure that we're fully addressing it.
So how old is that trail?
Terribly old. I can't speak for Parks and Rec, but I would say, probably since we took over the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm thinking no work has been done to maintain.
There's been work done, like I say, Parks and Rec's probably done a lot of remedial work in-house with their crews. We have been out to Vales Ridge a time or two on that one. We've been to, other trails along the creek. We've been a lot, but again, that's just getting it passable, getting it opened back up. With this initial estimate, we did one of our own calls. I'm fairly confident that there was, more sound engineering practice than just us going up there with our crews and shoveling, putting a pipe in or restabilizing the road pathway.
So Jeff, the $200,000 that we're asking, and Chris is not here, what's your idea on starting now or starting later? Because we're gonna want, I hear the conversation to bring somebody, get somebody to bring us a definite budget so we won't keep coming back. What's your recommendation, since you see this every day?
Well, what we've seen up there, I mean, if you want sections usable to have events and things of that, and I think they were planning on one in May or sometime of that nature, obviously you want to get in there as soon as possible. If you can hold off on it, now you have to realize you'll have sections of it closed off. You can do more studies, but this initial one, while it was quick, we feel like the engineer did a pretty good job of identifying what needed to be done for more permanent fixes.
Ms. Snowden, do you have all the facts and information that you need to be able to go out for a successful bid?
A part of this, with regard to the engineers, and I just got to your point about it being more comprehensive, as a part of this, the bid, they were going to do the assessment of the existing drainage infrastructure, assess stream conditions upstream and downstream of the culvert crossing, and additional detailed deliverables that include a site survey, geotechnical services, wetland delineation, and a threatened and endangered species report and wetland permitting for all 10 of the sites. So, very detailed.
So we're really not waiting on too much other than another study that we got to pay for.
What we can do is bring back more information along with site
For the
studies
third
and
reading?
photos.
So if we pass it, could you have that for the third reading, you think?
I could have it whenever you say you.
I mean, we don't necessarily have.
Yes,
to
we
do
will
third
have it
reading.
in time for third reading.
Yeah, we can put that off until we get that information.
I'm okay with waiting for that. I think that's a good.
We surely don't
that's a
want
good
to start
compromise.
over.
And then I live right there, so I'd love to walk it and see what the concerns are.
Yes, sir.
Do we have any additional comments?
Something we do need to do, Mr. Chair. A lot of this stuff keeps coming up, but these trails and stuff, which is good to have trails, but we need to have these, especially these where you're putting in housing districts and they have these trails, extending trails. We need to make these HOAs be responsible for some of these repairs and stuff, instead of the county having to foot the bill, when they're an issue. So I think that's something we need to get our planning departments putting in with dealing with these housing developments and stuff when they want to put in a walking trail or something.
That's a great idea. And
They
I
can-
think we talked about that, Billy, but afterwards,
Right.
because they really need to take some responsibility.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir, Mr. Harper.
I got an idea. It might just be completely stupid, so it won't be the first one I ever had. But I know they're talking about they've got an event possibly in May, and this needs to be done. And, you know, if we kill this on a third reading or whatever on this 200,000, it'll be a couple of more months. Is there any way that you could make a motion that the 200,000 be conditionally approved, and the council would release it with a resolution on an approved contract or whatever, somebody, it's just unusual, but it keeps from going through the third reading. If
I think
does that make sense, or does that?
I would suggest you just vote this up and down in second reading. We will have more additional information for you. I don't think the timeline for another 2 weeks
Okay, so
to
we
get to
can
third
still-
reading will delay it if there's some April event or May event.
It's correct me if I'm wrong, but then for the third reading, if we don't have the information, we can carve this out of that one, and then we can just hold off on finalizing that piece on a third reading.
Precisely.
Or if we could
Separate it out,
just,
or just not go forward.
Ginny's non-poker face is telling me maybe not.
We can amend to take that piece out, right?
You can, but you would need to come back to amend the budget again through this process if you take it out on third reading and start it all over again, so it would die.
They would have to happen at the same time. They would have to get approved at the same time, or
No,
can
no.
we delay that if we separate it out at third reading, we can approve the rest of it
Correct.
next meeting
start over.
and delay the other one for the next meeting?
No.
We'd have to start all over.
Yes, you can't do it by resolution. You'd have to do a budget amendment by ordinance. So this would be a budget
That's what I'm-
amendment. So it would, yeah.
They have to be approved even if they're split at the same time.
No. If you take this amount out of there and you approve everything else that's in the budget amendment, then finance can come back to you with another ordinance that would require 3 readings to do this amount. So you'd have to do it, run through the process again. You can't do an extra third reading for that just one amount. No.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they have to happen either at the same time.
Right, or be split out
they're gonna be on
and
different
go
times.
through the whole process again. Yes, that's exactly right.
Well, if it's not ready at our next meeting, we'll just delay this whole third reading till the next meeting.
You could postpone it, absolutely, yes.
Yeah, so we'll have to go back through.
But now, remember, you are having on third reading, you do have your public hearing. So right now, you're in a good spot because all of this is in the public hearing. So even if you remove things at third reading, the public will have the chance to speak to you next meeting on that public hearing. So you could still have the public hearing even if you were to postpone third reading of this ordinance.
or if there was a smaller amount that could just get the trail open, instead of the 200,000, if it was $30,000 or $40,000 just to get it open, that's another way to go.
You could make the amendment on third reading to reduce the amount if you wanted to. We just can't go up because we've already noticed the public hearing.
Have any other questions or comments? If not, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, it passes unanimously. And we're going to move on to item 9A, to receive information and to take desired action regarding removals from various boards and commissions. Ms. Simpson.
Mr. Chairman and council members, so you have 3 members up for consideration for removal. One is Maureen Johnson from the Keep Lancaster Beautiful Board, and then 2 members, Chris Stevenson and Catherine Abbott, from the Health and Wellness Board for removals due to absences.
I'll make the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, it's unanimous. Okay, we'll move on to item 9B, receive information and to take desired action regarding appointments to various boards and commissions. Ms. Simpson.
Mr. Chairman and council members, so the first consideration is for the Board of Zoning Appeals. It's an at-large membership for the Panhandle area. You have 6 applicants to consider for 1 position.
All right. Do we have a motion on any particular applicant?
I'd like to make a motion for Aaron Fender for the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Okay, we have a motion from Mr. Luis for Aaron Fender.
Second.
Have a second from Mr. Graham. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, it passes unanimous. Okay.
Okay, for the second board that you have for consideration is 1 applicant for the Van Wyck Fire District Fire Protection Fee Board, and it's Marky Trinkle.
Make a motion to appoint Marky Trinkle.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous. We'll move on to item 3.
So the next 2 items are for just vacancies. They do not include what you voted on for tonight. And then number 4 is for upcoming expirations on various boards and commissions. And if you have information on any people that you want to reappoint, please just get in touch with myself or Lauren Hill.
Hey, Sherry, on the health and wellness, I had a nomination or nominee, Kelly Collins, and that's my district, but it's saying there's a District 4 vacancy. So has she resigned or?
No, we'll look into that one. I apologize.
Okay.
What about, and maybe I'm looking at it wrong, Sharon, but it says District Representative 2. I think you may have explained that last time. On the community relations.
You still have a vacancy for District 2, I'm pretty sure.
But I have someone from my district on that community relations board.
She resigned.
As of,
We got it, I think, this month.
I was not aware.
You were not aware. I apologize.
All right.
So now I'll have for District 4, I'll have a vacancy for the health and wellness, no, for the community relations and for the Keep Lancaster Beautiful.
That is correct.
Okay.
I also have an appointment that I want to make for Ms. McGriff to be reappointed to the I-77 board.
Okay.
All right, do we have any other items under this section?
No, sir. Oh, you do?
Yeah, I was on to go on to item C. Okay, item 9C, Ms. Snowden, Coroner's Office update. Give us the good news.
Great news. Just want to actually acknowledge our coroner, Coroner Deese, as well as Deputy Coroner Mr. Collins are in the audience. I don't know if I see anyone from the Fern Creek group. Okay. All right. So they may actually want to have some input. So just want to walk you through where we've been and where we are. So in 2021, County Council designated $1.77 million in ARPA to renovate and expand the existing coroner's office. In May 2024, staff, which would be me, presented to you all that that the cost would have escalated to $2.55 million. And in May, June, and July, Council directed staff to identify a new location and develop a new building plan. And we looked at criteria about the minimum requirements for lot, water, sewer, a sally port, and we all agreed that the 1514 Pageland Highway or Old Dixie Road, an existing site that the county owns, would be the best location. And so in August, the administrator recommended moving forward with a new coroner's office on approximately 5 acres at 1514 Pageland Highway that fronts Old Dixie. The proposed project went out for bid. If you all will recall, we were actually trying to make sure that we were also meeting the ARPA deadline. We started this in August, and in October, we went out with an RFP and for an 8,500 square foot facility to include a sally port and space for an autopsy, morgue rooms, file and evidence storage, et cetera. And in December 2024, the county signed after an extensive bid process, expedited, the Fern Creek Group out of Chester County was awarded the design and construction of the new coroner's office. They are a general contracting firm that has extensive experience in providing design and construction services for a wide range of projects to include commercial, industrial, religious, retail businesses. They specialize in office buildings, shopping center, fire departments, and churches. Most recently, and I believe that several members of council, the firm constructed Fort Lawn's new 9,600 square foot fire station that was constructed within 14 months. So this is just the initial floor plan. We had our first meeting on January the 9th, and while we had our pre-construction meeting following that, the coroner and deputy coroner and several other members of the coroner staff met with the group to reconfigure this just a little bit, but I believe overall the coroner was very happy with the design. And I'm sure I definitely invite her to come up to speak about this. But this project involves the comprehensive design, engineering, and construction of an 85 by 100 foot facility, a square foot facility. The functional spaces do include autopsy, morgue area, evidence storage, office space, conference room, a sally port that details the scope of the work. Included is all associated site work, the erection of the facility, utilities, installation, interior finishes, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and getting and preparing the facility for IT. So the preliminary budget, and I just want to emphasize this is preliminary. We're not ready. We're in process to bring you back the full cost. But approximately $2.6 million in ARPA funds was dedicated to the project. We did have a bid cost estimate, but the issue is that we have to actually, right now, the Fern Creek Group is readying the survey of 2 lots to determine how to get sewer to the facility. And so I'm hoping that within late March, early April to come back to you with final cost estimates. But this is moving very quickly. After meeting only the 1st of January, much of the design and site work is done, sketch plans. I believe that the coroner and the deputy coroner are very pleased with how things are coming, and so we now need to work and get into the civil design phase. And again, I would invite the coroner or the deputy coroner to come up and speak to this. But this is our project timeline. We are out of the pre-design phase and into the design and specifications phase. So I don't know if there are any questions.
Ms. Dees, would you like to come up?
Good evening. I will answer any questions you guys have. We, John and I have worked very hard. We've had several meetings since with the design group just to kind of tweak some of the layout. It's worked wonderfully. We're very pleased with the progress and how quickly it's done. And
Have any questions for the coroner?
nobody usually does.
You're used to not having people
I
talk back to
am.
you, right?
Nobody wants to talk, so. But thank you guys for your support in this project. It's been great.
Thank you for your patience.
All good things come to those who wait. Is there any questions for Ms. Snowden?
So if I heard you correctly, the budget was going to be 3.2 million?
No, you're not going to be shooting arrows at me when I come back, but it's really just going to be contingent upon how we get sewer to the site.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You. All right, we're going to move on to, we have an item for executive session. I need a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
I got to read all the legalese stuff here. I need a motion to go into executive session in regards to two items: the receipt of legal advice subject to the attorney-client privilege regarding a potential contractual matter related to an economic development project, Care America Corporation, and the receipt of legal advice subject to the attorney-client privilege regarding a potential reestablishment of certain boards and commissions, and to invite economic development staff in to discuss the first item and administration staff in to discuss the second item.
So moved.
Have a motion from Mr. Luis, second from Ms. McGriff. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. We are in executive session. have a meeting to come out of executive session? A motion, not a meeting.
So moved.
Motion, second. All those in favor? It's unanimous. We are out of executive session.
Mr. Chairman, for the record, council met in executive session in regards to 2 items: the receipt of legal advice subject to the attorney-client privilege regarding a potential contractual matter relating to an economic development project, Kier America Corporation, and the receipt of legal advice subject to the attorney-client privilege regarding a potential reestablishment of certain boards and commission. No motions were made, no votes were taken.
We have a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
All those in favor? All those opposed? We are adjourned.